Well, welcome to the Kristi Jones Show, where it's all about living your life to the fullest. I'm a life coach, speaker, and business owner in multifamily real estate, and I've had wild success in multifamily housing for over 25 years now. I am so passionate about helping others merge their success and lead a fulfilling life, and I bring it all together right here on this podcast. So join me and let's get started to live your life to the fullest. Well, hey, my friends, welcome back to the podcast. Very excited to kick off this month with you. And I can't wait to dive into this topic today. I'm going to talk to you a little bit on high performers and how they can quietly stall out. And this can maybe show up in feeling underutilized, maybe a little restless. You feel plateaued or just unfulfilled. You're good, but you're not thriving. And I want to talk about, there was a time when being good enough was enough. And you worked hard, you kept your head down, you kept having that momentum. But somewhere along the way, that stopped working. And so if you've been wondering why your effort isn't translating into the same growth and the same impact, the same level of fulfillment, then this episode today is for you. So stick around till the end. So let's just dive right into this because I think this is something that many of us can relate to at some point in our life, but the game has changed. Things have changed. And it's almost like there's this restlessness that you might feel. And it's really things that you feel maybe are stalling out in your life or in your business. So they're good. Like you can't say they're not good. They're good. They're good enough, but it's not thriving. And we want to get you back in that seat of thriving because that's when you're happiest. When we're not growing and we don't feel like we are fully thriving, that fulfillment factor really starts to drop. And as you know, here on the Kristi Jones Show and in the work I do inside with the Flourishing Edge, I am all about sharing things that help us move towards success and continue to grow that for ourselves. But also, and equally as important, really more important, is that fulfillment factor because success without fulfillment means absolutely nothing. And you will find yourself at that very empty crossroads. So having both, that's the secret sauce. So let's talk about, I'm going to go through a few talking points and share a couple stories along the way too. But let's talk about this good enough, like why your effort isn't translating into the same results, into the same level of fulfillment, into that same level of growth and excitement that you used to have in this. And you can be when I talk through these things, as you know, I talk a lot about thriving in life and in business. So you can apply these to one or both of those categories of your life. So let's talk about good. Good is safe. But you know what? Safety has a ceiling. And when you're just settling for being good enough, there's a ceiling to that. And as a high performer, you are on this path of continual expansion, continual involvement and growth. That's what fuels you. That's that fire that just keeps it burning. That's the spark. And so you can be good at the thing you do, and it keeps things stable. But stability does not translate or equal growth. Now, I know that's like, wait, it should. Wait a minute. But think about that. Stability does not equal growth. Stability is comfort. Stability is safety, which we all want some of that. But to get out of the good enough stage, we're going to have to go past that area of stability. We're going to have to get out of that safe zone. So yeah, good is safe, but being good, being good causes you to avoid risks. It causes you to avoid visibility. Being good is just really you not wanting to deal with discomfort. Because when you're good enough, you're just kind of going between the lines, staying between the lines. So you are avoiding discomfort by being good, by doing just enough. being good enough. But it is the safe route. It is the safe route. Good keeps you respected. I would agree with that. But it doesn't always push you into expansion. So, how important is it for you to be able to say that you are respected versus the thought that you are constantly expanding and growing and stepping into that next level in your business or in your life? So it's time to shed the good enough phase. If you kind of feel that you've been just wading in the water, hanging out in that safe zone a little bit, good enough gets you to a certain point. But good enough is not going to get you to your greatness. The second thing is really talking about, I was sitting here thinking about competence. And in this place of being good enough at what you do, I'm doing good enough in my life, whether this is business or in your personal life, I'm doing good enough. And so you're competent when you're doing good enough, but the competence without confidence, that creates invisibility. So we assume often that people will, our work or the things that we're doing, the way we're showing up in the world, that it will speak for itself, that our work will speak for itself. Or you're waiting to be noticed because you're competent. You're good at what you do. You're waiting to be noticed. You're waiting to be chosen. You're waiting to be chosen for that project. You're waiting to be chosen for a special event. You're waiting, you're waiting, you're waiting, you're waiting, you're waiting. Your capability doesn't automatically translate into influence. It doesn't automatically translate into opportunities. So your confidence that comes behind your competence is what grows you. It's what takes you to that next level. It's what expands you. So just being good enough and without having that confidence, you're not going to go as far. You're not going to go and step into that next level. One of the things that came to mind when I was putting my notes together on this topic on competence and backing that up with confidence is if you listened, I believe it was 2 episodes ago. So I'm going to say it was episode 144, possibly. I'll look it up and I'll put it in the show notes. But I had talked about a time when I felt competent, like good enough to, I was managing properties. I talked specifically about Park Place apartments, and it was a property that like nobody wanted to manage. Nobody wanted to be assigned as the manager of that community at the time. And anyways, I go more into it in that episode, so I'll let you go back and listen to it if you're interested. But I had the competence to, raise my hand and say, I could handle that if you wanted to add it to my, area that I was managing. And I think at that point I managed maybe two or three sites, I believe. And so, and this is early on in my career. So, I was really hungry. I was like wanting those opportunities. And nobody else wanted to touch this property because, it was more of a C property. It had a lot of maintenance issues, all the things. It wasn't the nice, shiny new car on the street type of thing. And so I rose my hand. I went to my boss. I said, I'll turn it up. Me and my team, I'm confident we can turn it around. Keyword confident. So I had the competence. I knew like the steps and how to do it. I was competent to get that done. But what really made me visible, what created that opportunity was my confidence. My confidence came to the forefront. And that particular opportunity when I took over Park Place Apartments and got it out of the red, and we eventually, and it didn't happen overnight. Like we had to grind it out to get that thing to perform and to get that occupancy up. But it was my confidence that what came behind my competence, my confidence that I could build the right team, lead the team, get myself boots on the ground there and, work side, shoulder to shoulder with them to figure this out. And so you can be competent, but if you're not matching that with your confidence, you're just being invisible. And so the confidence, it challenges you. Like you're not going to play small. You're not going to play small when your confidence meets your competence. And, it just gives that, it sends that message that I am competent, but I also bringing my confidence to the forefront in this challenge, in this opportunity. And that's where things shine, is when competence and confidence can come together. So don't wait to be noticed. Don't wait to be chosen. That's where your confidence comes in. And you can speak up and offer yourself up for the challenge. Make them aware that this is something that you want, an arena that you want to step into, that you want to take on the challenge. So competence without confidence really causes and creates a lot of invisibility. So don't shortchange yourself there. And one of the things, and as I was making some notes for today's episode, is that the rules have changed. And most people haven't noticed. The rules have changed. Let me explain. Right now, in this climate, in this environment, we have way more noise than we've had before. We have so many more options at our fingertips, more options available to us. Things move at a faster pace. People and businesses have higher expectations in just about every department that there is. So, what we need more of is, you don't need more hustle, you don't need more busyness. The rules have changed. What you need to really move with this pace and to stay in up to speed with all these new advancements of how things have progressed and changed is, you need clarity, not busyness, not hustle, clarity. Now, when I say hustle, sometimes we all have different meanings for that word. You still have to work. You still have to know when it's go time. But you that tune in to this podcast, you are a high achiever. You're a top performer. I don't need to I don't need to motivate you to do more. You're already doing so much. And often as a high achiever and an ambitious professional, what can get kind of murky and get lost in the shuffle is that clarity. So I was going to say too that in my last episode of 145, if you go back and listen to that, I tell you a story about myself in some transition that I just recently did, just this month in January of 2026, because I needed to slow a few things down so I could get more clarity. And when like if I ask you to, you're going to want to slow down, you want to we think, oh my God, that's a step back. Wait a minute. I'm a foot on the gas kind of girl. But hear me out. There's times that when we create space, which I talked about in episode 145, creating space and pause so we can have a moment to get more clear on our direction, get more clear on what it is that we're trying to create or build or experience. When we create that space for that, instead of just like staying busy, hustling more, figuring out, steps 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we just pause and give ourselves space, clarity comes to the forefront. Clarity comes to the forefront. So if you want to hear a little bit more about that, go back to episode 145, and I give lots of I actually share exactly what I went through these last 45 days and then what I did to keep the momentum going, but also get the clarity that I needed so that I was moving forward with alignment. So go listen to 145 if that resonates. And here's the thing. Let me share with you why doing more, why that's the wrong response. Why doing more is the wrong response. Doing more is just busyness hiding the real issue. And more effort does not fix misalignment. Again, going back to my story time on the podcast for episode 145, and having like a new mentorship that I had been launching that was going to open up, and then my podcast drops every week. I have a new episode every week. I've been doing that for over 3 years, and all of these different things. And I had in my area of public speaking, I'm also in the kind of the final stages of redeveloping and fine tuning two of my keynote speeches. And so I had made a decision, and plus other personal things of, we're looking at creating a residence in Florida as well. That has a lot of moving parts to it. I mean, there was just a lot going on. And so I had made a decision in January. I did that, create space, not doing more effort because I wasn't sure everything, the things that I was doing, I really wanted to make sure that they were aligned with my purpose, with my goals. A lot of times when I talk about building a life that you desire, it takes things like making sure that your choices are in alignment with the life you're wanting to build, with your values, because it's so easy. It's so easy to just keep your foot on the gas and going forward and going forward. And, that doing good enough, doing good enough, you're doing good enough until you're not. Until one day you wake up and you're not good. You're just not good. Maybe you don't feel fulfilled. You're struggling with some other things in your life. So it's really important that to know that productivity won't create fulfillment. Staying busy, all that busyness is often trying to cover up the real issue. So doing more, that is not the thing to lean into. The answer isn't more. The answer is to be brave. The answer is to be brave. That's the reframe on this. To be brave and just, if you need to pause and create more space, go listen to episode 145 for that. Then that's what's going to take you out of that just good enough phase that I talked about when I started this episode, into what is excellent for you, into that next level. So what actually moves us from being good, good enough, to thriving in our lives? What is that? What actually moves us? And I have three things that I would like for you to just kind of toss around in your brain. Okay. So, if you're walking, like as you're walking and listening to the podcast, think about these three things and how these could apply to your life. So, going from a place of execution to ownership. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission. Take ownership. What's going to move you from good to thriving is you taking ownership of your own damn life. Take ownership of your career. Take ownership of your relationships, of your well-being. Take ownership of that. Do not, what do I say, farm it out, like delegate it out. Don't farm it out to other people to handle for you. Don't delegate it out to other people. Take ownership of the condition of your life. So stop waiting for permission and move over into ownership of that. Second thing is going from I talked about competence earlier, going from competence, because you're a competent individual, but going that next level to conviction, trusting your voice, not just your skills. Trust your voice. Trust that inner knowing, not just your skills. Don't depend just on your skills. Your skills will keep it good enough. You will do good enough. If you want to really go next level in your career, in your business, in your friendships, in your marriage, in your relationships, in your own health, listen to that inner voice. Listen to that. Trust it. I had someone the other day, we were sitting and talking, and this person says, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time knowing what to say or like knowing the words what to say. And this person is a content creator and creates great content and puts good things out in the world, but is feeling really like not on stable ground on like, I just don't know. Like I go to say it and I don't feel like I know how to say it or, and overthinking is definitely going on. But my bit of advice is to trust your voice. You are competent. Back it up with the confidence. You have the skills, but now it's time to trust that voice. When you do that, the words will come. And the last thing is to go from comfort to this, what I call this conscious stretching. So comfort is, exactly what it is. It's just comfortable. And if your things are going to stay good enough, then you stay comfortable. When I talked about safety in the beginning, things are comfortable. But to consciously stretch yourself, these are small intentional actions that you purposely are doing. You're intentionally doing these things. These are moving you from good enough to thriving. You want to be able to say, at the end of your life, you want to be able to say, that was good enough. But was it thriving? Wouldn't you have so much more satisfaction if you knew that you thrived in life, in business, in the wholeness of who you are, that you brought it all to the table? That's going to take some intentional actions, not just staying in the little cozy comfort zone. So ask yourself, if I were to wrap this up with one question, this is what I'd ask you. So where in your life are you relying on good enough? And when are you, or where in your life are you actually being called to be bolder, to show up in a much bolder way? What is that for you? Thriving in business and life, it doesn't come from you proving how capable you are. It comes from you choosing to lead. It comes from you choosing to lead your work, your voice, your life, all of it with intention. Sometimes the bravest thing that we can do is to admit to ourselves that good enough just isn't cutting it anymore. That's honestly one of the best gifts that you can give yourself. So as we are so early in 2026, those are some great questions to be asking yourself right now. We've gone through January, whatever, edits you were wanting to do in your life and kind of recreate some things for how you might show up this year in life and in business. You've kind of worked through some of those things, I trust, in January. But now this is where like the rubber meets the road, okay? We actually have to follow through on things to get the results that we want. It's the actions. It's like I say all the time, it's not what we know, it's what we do with what we know. And we have to take action. We have to make decisions. I talk about that a lot, making decisions. You can't hang out in limbo land. Making decisions and then taking action. That's where the rubber meets the road right there. So as you move forward and kick off this month, consider those couple questions that I raised. Where in your life are you relying on good enough? And when and where are you actually called to be bold? Where is that for you? All right, my friend, I am so glad we got this chance to hang out today. Thank you for being here and taking part in the podcast. Show notes will have links, and I'll get you to those previous episodes as well if you want to go back and listen to those if you had missed them. Otherwise, I will see you here on the next episode of the Kristi Jones Show. And it would mean the world to me if you would like, share, review the podcast wherever you're seeing this podcast. Um, I really appreciate the feedback and the support. So send this episode to a friend. Someone else needs this message, and you could be their hero today. Okay, my friend, I will see you right here, same place, same time. Take care. I just want to thank you for tuning in today to the podcast, and I hope you've enjoyed the conversation and all the info that's been shared today. And I hope you've come away with a few ideas on how to make the most out of it for your life. If you loved this episode, be sure to share it with your friends and family. And also make sure you subscribe to the podcast and tap that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Also, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would leave a podcast review. So until next time, my friend, keep flourishing and thriving and live your life to the